There are so many frustrations along the way of the 6-month journey that is Major League Baseball. You know what else is frustrating? When you don't execute and you don't make adjustments. The Guardians did neither of those things this weekend. They'll tell you where it all went wrong for the Guardians in Cincinnati, leaving without any wins in the Ohio Cup battle on today's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into another Therapy Monday edition of Locked On Guardians. Unfortunately, it is your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Thank you for joining us. It is our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it's your favorite half hour of the day too, despite what happened over the weekend for the Guardians. But we do cover your Cleveland Guardians every day, from the majors to the minors and even the draft. I am Justin Latta, one of your two co-hosts of Locked On Guardians. I have been watching Cleveland Guardians baseball my entire life, and I have been writing about their minor league system since 2007. You can find all of my minor league analysis over at the News Herald, the Morning Journal, nextyearincleveland.substack.com, and here 5 days a week with my friend and co-host, Jeff Ellis.
Unfortunately, my emotional support animal went away, which I needed after this weekend of games. I am Jeff Ellis, one of your two co-hosts here. One of the first people Locked On brought on to talk about baseball when the network came to be in terms of baseball. Before that, I was a long-time national writer at Scout 24/7, focused on prospects and the draft. I want to thank everyone for making today's podcast their first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts, as well as big shout out to all of our everydayers. Thank you for sticking with us. We know after a 4-game losing streak, the numbers will show up. So the true diehards, comment below because you're the ones who are watching.
Yes, you are. We appreciate that. And like friends, I always like to say, we're always here for you. When it hasn't been your day, your week, your weekend, your month, or even your year, we're always here for our Guardians fans. On today's Locked On Guardians, we're going to tell you why the sky isn't falling despite a bad weekend and a very tough stretch ahead. We'll talk about the Guardians need to find a regular offensive grouping at some point in the lineup. But we're going to start today's episode by talking about execution versus game plan and the painful reminder of the Guardians got this weekend of Will Benson. Before we get that far, though, today's episode of Locked On Guardians, it is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I had a lot of people over the weekend get mad about the Will Benson thing. Everyone went back to 2023, how good Will Benson was. Say with Nolan Jones. Everybody wanted Nolan Jones back after 2023, and now he's not playing well. Will Benson came up and had the heater of his life on the weekend, as you said, Jeff, and the Guardians are partially responsible for the heater of his life, and maybe Tito is the Ohio Cup whisperer. I don't know. Maybe that's really what it is. It's just Tito, renamed it the Tito Cup. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, that we all had this exact same thought, which is like, stop throwing this dude sliders. Like, he is on the heater of his life. He is seeing that pitch so well, and they kept going back. And, they gave, that he struggles with spin low in the zone and this and that. The guy is feeling it right now. And sometimes, players have unbelievable stretches, and what you can do is stop feeding the beast. Stop giving him what is allowing him. Listen, I've been the biggest vote supporter, even in our comments. I had a lot of issues over this weekend with like lack of adjustments, lack of adaptation, just lineup construction. I know we'll save that for segment 2, but boy, I didn't understand today's lineup at all. But yeah, Will Benson's on a really big heater. He is a player that when his BABIP runs high, like that great year, we'll see how it goes. I hope he can put it all together. He's a supremely talented player. He's an amazing human being. He is one of the hardest workers you'll meet. But there was a reason why he's like spent a good, part of most of his career in the minors and like keeps getting sent back down. The consistency has not been there. But I mean, the physical raw tools are there for him to almost single-handedly beat a team over the weekend, which is what, to some respects he did. If it wasn't against Cleveland, I'd be really excited just because Will is just anyone who met him in the minors, interviewed him, got to spend time with him, would be the first person to be like, this is well deserved, and to be happy for him. But yeah, not so great this particular weekend. Stop throwing the man sliders.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Will Benson.
No White Castle for him.
That's what I was gonna say. Maybe he's angling for a White Castle sponsorship, or the Guardians are. I don't know, man. It comes down to two things, right? Like, you got to have a good game plan, but you also got to execute the game plan. And we were texting with some people over the weekend too, and they're saying, why do they keep throwing him sliders? Every slider they threw to him, he was crushing. Like, all 4 of his home runs this weekend came on the slider or a sweeper, whatever, the same category of pitch.
It's the same category.
Yeah, it's the same category, just, some different metrics, whatever. The game plan wasn't necessarily wrong. Like, he hit the home runs, that's good, but you want to know why it didn't work? It's because the sliders they threw to him were in the middle of the zone. If you look at Benson's track record historically, there's 2 things that he doesn't do well. He doesn't throw heat up, he doesn't handle heat well up in the zone because he's got long arms, hard to extend, and he has a hard time with sliders low, spin low. And those things do work. Like, if you look at on his Savant page, the highest whiff rates of his career come low in the zone, like almost below it. Some of the worst whiff rates in his career are either up here, up at his chest, or they're down, below his knees with the slider. Unfortunately for the Guardians, Tanner Bybee, Slade Ciccone, Luis Ortiz, Hunter Gaddis, they all threw sliders, and they all left them in the middle of the plate. Like, you can have a good game plan. If you don't execute it, you're going to get beat. These are still major league hitters. Will Benson has great power. The other half of that to me is this, though. Okay, he hit the home run off Tanner Bybee. Tanner's got a good slider. He missed, and he was not. Tanner didn't have a good Friday. He was mislocating. He was going deep in counts. It was just not a good start for him. Outside of that pitch and a couple other innings, he just was all over.
It was pretty miserable for him from start to finish.
And Slade Ciccone, he was awesome except for one pitch. Luis Ortiz also awesome except for one pitch to one guy, literally one guy. So when it happens once to Tanner, okay, he was having a bad day. He was mislocating. When it happens to Slade Ciccone, you're like, okay, first start of the year, whatever. You could explain that away. Bad location. It was going to happen. But when you get to Sunday, and I understand Luis Ortiz, one of his best pitches is a slider, you've either got to adjust the game plan because you can't keep throwing a guy the same pitch. And I understand you want to say, look, if you're going to throw him this pitch, you got to execute it. You got to throw it where it needs to go. When you mislocate, he hurts you. But you want to know what? Don't give yourself the ability to mislocate. The thing with, like, Ciccone doesn't have a lot of other options. The 2 guys that I'm most frustrated with are Tanner and Luis, because Luis has a huge array of pitches. He's got a changeup now. He's got a cutter. He's got a sinker. He's got a 4-seam. You could have attacked Will Benson a myriad of different ways. And Hunter Gaddis has a great changeup. He can throw the heat up in the zone. He doesn't need to go to the slider, even though the slider's been his best pitch this year. You had other options. The only guy I'm not going to get frustrated with is Slade Ciccone, because the slider is really his best pitch, and he's got limited options to go with as he reintegrates new pitches, and he's coming back from a rehab. The other guys, Tanner, the first game, you didn't know. You just mislocated. But at some point, you got to make an adjustment, right? You can't just keep doing the same thing and expecting it's going to be okay. You got to make an adjustment. So the game plan wasn't necessarily wrong, but when you stopped executing and you saw what this guy was looking for, and you saw that he was on the slider, make an adjustment, and they didn't.
Yeah, it's the same thing we've talked about with Gavin Williams this year. And, and we, in fairness, like last offseason, we talked about, right? Like, with the whole Stanton situation, like they had a game plan, they didn't execute it, but specifically this year, it's been.
But with Stanton, it didn't happen over and over. It was.
I know it was once. Yes, it's once. This is the problem.
This
where
happened all weekend. Yeah.
Yes,
with one guy.
And it's happened with Gavin Williams in like every start. Why does he start with a fastball middle in or middle?
Yes.
It's like that. That's that more than anything else this weekend. It's like we'll talk about offense in segment 2. We're going to talk about that in a second here. But it's like the lack of adjustments coming from management. It's like you and I just sit there and we're like, how many times do we text about like I don't understand what like how.
Why they keep fastballs, right?
Yeah, why they're doing play calling that like you and I, we don't even have the data they have, and we know like this is setting you up to fail. Why do you keep insisting on it? Because it's not the pitcher, and it's not just the starter. It's not just the nailer. It's the same stuff is getting called by Hedges. It starts with like management. These games are planned out ahead of time often.
Well, yeah. So they start the series out
Yeah.
by the pitchers, the catchers, the coaches. They meet before each series starts. And they discuss the data, the plan of attack against hitters, what you do against this entire lineup. And they do that. And again,
it feels like they look at it and they go, you know what? None of this stuff works. You know what'll surprise him if we do all the stuff that doesn't work, because no one would expect that.
Maybe he'll miss a slider middle because he struggles with them low. Maybe he'll be looking low and he'll swing over the top. I don't know. And the Reds weren't even that good at this weekend offensively. Like Tanner, outside of Will Benson, was okay, even though he was all over the place at times. He limited the damage. Slade was good, except for the Benson pitch. Luis Ortiz, good against the Will Benson pitch. I can't believe they got swept because A, they couldn't throw a slider in the dirt to Will Benson, and B, they couldn't score. We're going to talk about the offense next on today's Locked On Guardians and how the Guardians got to find a better grouping or game plan for their lineup.
I love wonderful pistachios. I love them so much. They taste so good in my belly. Terrible song for a wonderful product. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Why do I love wonderful pistachios? It's a good snack. It is a filling snack. I can eat something full of sugar and it's not going to fill me up. This will fill you up. Again, I want to recommend this jalapeno lime. This is the go-to for me. So I love it. It's fantastic. They have so many different varieties. If you're like, I don't like heat, that's fine. Go get sea salt. Go get the I believe it's salt and pepper. There's so many wonderful ones. I say jalapeno lime though. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
This weekend offensively, so frustrating. The pitching, for all the gripes we had about the pitching and the execution, the Guardians could have won all 3 of these games. They should have won Friday. They had enough offense on Friday. They should have won that game. That was the game where the pitching really kind of let them down in terms of the one pitch to Will Benson. They just did nothing on Saturday. And then Sunday, they couldn't get anything going. And what to me got most messy this weekend is, okay, they got a bullpen game thrown at them on Tuesday or Saturday. The idea was that the Reds were going to go with Chase Petty at some point. Instead, after Suter got 3 innings, they decided to go to the rest of their bullpen. If he didn't go that long, they were going to let Petty try to get it to the bullpen. But the Guardians said once they let Suter get through 3, they knew they weren't going to see Petty, who would have been a more ideal matchup for them because all he does is throw fastballs, and he hasn't been particularly good this year. So they had no answer for the bullpen on Saturday. I'm amazed that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pitchers for the Reds, Jeff, didn't walk a batter. The Guardians saw 6 different pitchers and did not work a single walk. They had 8 hits, but they couldn't really string anything together. Not a single extra base hit in that game either. And then Sunday, just no hitters with runners in scoring position. Jose Ramirez back to second this weekend for the bullpen game, and he's back to second on Sunday, which I'm not against. But the problem is when you move all those guys to the top of the order and you move guys down who aren't hitting, you stack the top of the order with guys who are hitting, and then the rest of the guys don't come through. We just got mad. I guess I can't say the same thing here because we just got mad about how the Guardians didn't make adjustments pitching, right? And now I'm sitting here saying, well, they keep moving the lineup around too much. They can't find a guy to hit second. They can't figure out who's hitting fourth. They can't figure out who's hitting 6, 7, 8 or whatever. The only guy they know is hitting 8, 9 is like Bo Naylor or it was Rocchio, whatever. So I can't be mad when I say the Guardians aren't making adjustments pitching wise. When if the offense isn't working, you have to figure out a different combination in the lineup. So I can't be mad they're trying to make adjustments. It's just everything they're doing isn't consistent and isn't finding consistency. Like Stephen Kwan's struggling right now. Jose Ramirez is hot. Manzardo's been fine. And everybody else right now is just really kind of either just okay or they're really struggling. Like there's no in between. Like there's the guys that are really good. There's the guys that are just there. And there's the guys that really stink. So I can't get mad about them changing the lineup. But
I can.
They haven't found well, I don't know. We're getting mad they don't make adjustments pitching wise. If they just roll out the same lineup every game and nothing changed and they didn't hit, wouldn't you get mad about that?
No, my problem is how they did it. Like Gabby is in a massive funk, and you put him for John Kenzie Noel is swinging at every non-competitive pitch. He's last 7 at bats, he's struck out 6 times. He's not playing enough to find a groove, and it's been awful. And when you put those 2, 4, 5, and Gabby, now in fairness to him, did work a walk today, but was it the starter he hit a batter and then walked 2 guys? And Noel
the bases loaded, yeah.
And then Noel swings at every pitch outside the zone. He can't make contact. There's no business putting him 5. And Gabby at 4. Jose reached base twice. Santana reached base 3 times in this game. Cleveland actually reached base more times than the Reds did. They had more base runners. Cleveland's box score bingo score was a 4.6 runs. They got 1. Part of that is because you had 2 black holes in your 4 or 5 spots. In the heart of the order, you put 2 of the guys who are not performing. If you're going to mess with the lineup like this, fine. Put Angel at 3, put Schneemann at 3, and bump Santana down. Do something or move Schneemann up to 4. Is Schneemann on a heater anymore? No, but is he currently hitting better than Gabby and Noel are? Absolutely, and he did manage to have a hit in this game. I mean, everyone had a hit in this game outside of Gabby and Quan. And Quan is the problem when you are a contact guy is there are high highs and low lows. Quan is in a very low, and that's part of what's hurting this offense right now is they don't have Steven Quan. They have 2 exceptional hitters. One of them isn't hitting. But to me, the bigger problem here is just this is terrible lineup construction. You cannot have Noel hitting that high. You just can't. He has no. I could strike out Noel right now, and I'm not sure I could throw a ball 90 feet. Like he would swing at it if it went 70 in the dirt. Like that's where he is right now. Gabby is
90. It's going to the backstop. So
yeah,
he might swing at that. Actually,
you're right. Actually, but he still might say it doesn't matter.
He might swing
right.
At that, yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking there. It's not that'd be if you're throwing from second base.
He might swing at that too, for all we know. Yeah,
but
I get what you're saying. The lineup on Sunday, I think, was most frustrating. Like you and I both agree, lineup construction is overrated. There is too much attention put on it. But there probably is a point where you have to consider it a little more. Like, okay, they lost the first 2 games of the series. And we're going to talk about in segment 3 about this long stretch. And this isn't, not going to be doom and gloom the whole show. Like, you want to get Jose Ramirez off his feet, right? Or at least a half day. DHs, that's fine. But when you're doing that, you're playing, a Sunday game where you lost the first 2. And Jose's DHing, which means Manzardo's out of the lineup and let's take Santana out. Well, Santana, is sort of doing some good things. He had some good at-bats this weekend.
He's better against lefties than righties, so that's always hard in this situation.
Yeah, it is, right. So you got Noel in there. You said middle of the lineup. That was terrible. But you're also playing on the same day Will Wilson and Austin Hedges, who give you nothing offensively. And I realize Will Wilson had
one of their best games.
He had a walk. So I'm not going to sit here and fault him, but it's like, you're not, but also you're doing that with like the Rocchio thing. You're doing it when nobody's on. That's the Rocchio thing. You can't roll out a lineup after losing 2 games that features that many bad hitters, Noel and then Wilson and Hedges. Like, I understand, like you gotta get guys rest, like Jose DHs once a week, whatever. Like, can't you consider the schedule or like the things you've worked on? Like, I know they're playing for the long haul, right? May 18th in the grand scheme of things probably doesn't mean a lot, but in the context of this weekend, like trying to get a win, try not to get swept, try not to lose 4 in a row when your division is very competitive right now. And yeah, you've rolled out a lineup where Arias and Noel and in the middle of the order that aren't good. And then Wilson and Hedges and, Schneemann's kind of cooled off too, even though he had a home run this weekend and a hit on Sunday. But you're right. I mean, when Quan doesn't hit, this team doesn't do well. It's amazing to me. We talked about how Jose hadn't been on a heater yet. Jose is on a heater. He looks great. Guess what? They've lost 4 in a row with Jose on a heater. That is not what you want from this team. Tanner did a decent job Friday, except for the Will Benson thing. He was
he let a lot of guys on. He still got you. Yeah, he still got you deep in the game. So you averted some crisis there.
overall, your starting pitching this weekend could have been a lot worse. Saturday and Sunday was great.
Yeah, Slade was fantastic. We probably haven't given him enough due, honestly, in this show.
Right, he was good. Yeah, but we said like when the starting pitching comes around, this team would get better. Well, starting pitching looks a little better recently, and Jose's on a heater. Guess what? They're losing 4 in a row.
Well, the bullpen looks worse, and the offense.
Yeah,
is,
and maybe that's just baseball. But yeah, they still have to get all 3 things in sync here, and they just really haven't. And that's why you got swept in bad execution and just a very weirdly planned and managed weekend overall. But also, bad execution. Everyone wants to say Vogt's terrible, whatever. He's the manager of the year last year. Nobody expected them to go as far as they did a year ago. And you want to know what? At the end of the day, he has to make the right decision, pull the right levers, and put the guys in the right situations. But the guys also have to execute too. You can't throw middle sliders to Will Benson or anybody. You can't have the at-bats John Kensley Noel is having either. The players still have to play, or you have to replace them. And Vogt's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Or, it's like he's got to be the one not play Noel. He has to be the one to
right, but
put a better lineup out. Or
what's your alternative?
Move the guy down if you're gonna have him play. Don't have him in the heart of your order. If you're going
there was no good option.
I mean, Schneemann would have been better in a higher spot in that lineup.
I would have just put. I mean, second guessing and whatever. And I understand big picture. I would have just Jose play third, maybe DH him tomorrow. Keep Manzardo on the lineup.
You got to have him DH because the Twin series is too important.
It is. All right, we'll talk about why the Twin series is important. We'll talk about why the sky isn't falling despite our first 20 minutes of frustration on today's Locked On Guardians. The NBA playoffs, they are wild. The only team still standing in terms of teams I expected is Oklahoma City. Every night has delivered highlight-worthy performances, momentum shifts, can't miss moments, game-winning shots, breakout players. This is a great time to get in on the action at FanDuel, and they make it easy for you to stay in the game. So before tip-off and live, you can get player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, and you have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. We're not going to talk about the NBA because I'm still, hurting from the Cavs, I will say. But I was checking on FanDuel to see, okay, Guardians had a rough weekend. The AL Central is very competitive right now. What do the division standings look like? What do the division odds look like? Right now, the Guardians, they are plus 700 to win the division. They are third behind the Tigers, who are minus 250, and the Twins, who are plus 450. So the Guardians are right there with the Twins. The Tigers are the front runners. They look good right now. That's, maybe some nice odds on the Guardians because this is a long season and there are still good things to come for them. You're still going to get guys like Bieber back. There are some guys who are rehabbing. We'll see what happens, but that might be a nice long-term play. We're talking about long-term here overall. So if you're new to FanDuel, it is the perfect time for you to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. You're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Appreciate you guys making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. Even though we don't have a newsletter, you can actually join our insiders group. You can check that out at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGuardians, where you can vent to us through text, or we can tell you things that are happening, like injury updates, rehab updates that I sent out to our insiders this weekend, where guys are going on rehabs this week, how that's all going. We're doing mailbags with our insiders. We are providing some additional college data and some prospect reports that are all out there in the drive. So
I'll send you I never published my mock, so I'll send you that to put in there. It's like a month-old mock, but if people want to see that, we can drop that in there.
There you go. Jeff's got a mock draft going. We got to talk more draft. The college baseball, the conference tournaments start this week. That's a lot of fun, and then followed by College World Series. So we are going to have to ramp up draft talk around here soon for all of our sickos and insiders and our diehards. We will do that. But first, before we get there, all right, this was a bad weekend, and it really sucks. I was going to say stinks, but you know what? It sucks. It sucks that this was a start of a 10-game, 3-city road trip in a stretch of 13 games in 13 days where you lost 3 in a row. That sucks. That's a very crappy start to that stretch. But they've played the Twins very well. The Twins are a little bit banged up. Correa is out. I think
continually banged up, it feels like.
And it was Byron Buxton who injured him. And I think Buxton has been out a little bit too. Look, the Twins have been hot. They have been very hot.
Yes.
They lost their first game in 2 weeks on Sunday. The last time they lost the game before Sunday, the Cavs were still in the playoffs. So maybe they're cooling off. Maybe they, once you have that hot of a stretch, eventually you cool off. You don't keep that forever, right? But this is still the start of a long stretch. Obviously, you have the Reds series, which the Reds are not a great team. You should have been able to win at least one. My God, two. But they played the Twins well recently. You have a chance to refocus. If you go out to Minnesota this weekend, what is it? Is this a 4-game series in
I believe
Minnesota?
it's a 4-gamer.
If you go out and you at least split that series, maybe somehow you take 3 or 4. You bounce things back in the right direction. You're going to get Tanner this series. You're going to get Gavin. Hopefully, Gavin isn't. I don't know. He didn't have a great last start, so maybe he's due for a good one because he can't put 2 in a row together.
Logan Allen has been really good, as every day Dave Wendell would point out. Like, he's been on a nice.
He has. I worry about the Twins against lefties, I will say.
Yeah,
but
and we'll get Slade in this series, who I'm very excited to see, because it's like,
you
and I were positively giddy about Slade's performance for most of that game, and then
he blew LA De La Cruz away. And that's the thing I'm saying. Okay, that's to go back to the first segment, talking about execution and adjustments. I listened to what Slade Ciccone had to say after the game on Saturday, and they weren't necessarily looking to go into the at-bat against Ellie De La Cruz, the one he struck him out in, with all those fastballs. But the first 2 fastballs, Ellie ripped at and completely missed. He blew him away. So they said, you know what? Why do something else? Let's just throw what's working. Boom! They decided to alter the game plan mid-at-bat. He threw another fastball. You know what De La Cruz did? He swung and missed. That's an adjustment right there. But yeah, Slade was awesome, and I know the final line won't
they left him in
reflect.
too long.
They left him in too long, coming off of a 68 pitch outing.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be better this time around. I don't think the Twins have ever seen him. Not that matters, but yeah, you have some decent pitching matchups. Like, they got to face Bailey Ober and Joe Ryan this series. Bailey Ober kills them. Great.
Yeah.
Joe Ryan is a tough customer.
Always good.
But you have a chance to redeem yourself. Like, yeah, the Red Series sucked. That's not a great team. They're back to 500, I think. But you have a chance to redeem yourself against the Twins. You go out and you take 2 of 4, or you take 3 of 4 somehow. You're in a much better spot. And then you got to go play Detroit. Yeah, Detroit's tough too. But you have opportunities to, it's too early to talk about control your own destiny, but you've got a chance to cut in to where you're at. You've got a chance to make waves in the division. Flush the Cincinnati series. It's over. You can't change it. You got 7 straight games against 2 division rivals right now that are really good, that are playing good baseball. You got a chance to make some dents. You have to get over it, and you have a chance to do it. And that's why, again, you can get mad about the Red Series all you want, but this is a upcoming stretch here where they have a chance to pull themselves back into things and look a lot better and right the ship. It's a long season.
100%. And if you had told me they lose 4 in a row and then take 3 out of 4 from the Twins, I would take it. Like, not saying that that's going to happen, but they have played very well against the Twins. They're still, in spite of, it's the first 4-game losing streak they've had this year. They're still the 5th best record in the American League. They're still in the playoffs. Have started today. For all the travails and struggles, it's still been a solid season. Like, this is still a team that is, looks to be, I still think, on the upswing, especially once players get healthy, once they figure things out. I know people aren't going to want to hear it. Nolan Jones had a decent series for him. Like, he managed 3 hits in this one and had a hard hit day.
Is the key word.
Yeah,
though.
But I mean, heck, I will take signs of improvement. And let's be honest, he's just holding the spot until Chase DeLauder is healthy enough to go, probably at this point in time.
For a week.
Yeah, and I know people scream for Kafis. You're gonna handle Kafis tomorrow in a solo show. So look forward to that. But like, right now, with what's on the horizon, the focus just has to be the Twins. The Twins did pass them in the division, which I just want to throw out two quick things here. One, a month ago, the Twins were left for dead by a lot of people.
Thank you.
And here they are. And 2, you know what happened a year ago? The offense failed to show up for the Cleveland Guardians when they went and faced the Milwaukee Brewers. And everyone was like, oh, they're going to lose this division. They're not going to do it. Terrible weekend, almost identical in a lot of respects to, this Reds weekend. And they recovered. So it's like, it was awful. It was not fun. Did I definitely turn off my TV in disgust a few times, then, have to walk back and turn it back on my phone screen. I'm acting like I have how I'm watching these games. But either way, it's like, yeah, it was not fun to watch. But we also have to be like big picture. And big picture is, yeah, it was bad baseball. It was not ideal. There's some things we can take away positive, some things negative, but overall, it's can they turn around? Now, if this turns into like an 8-game losing streak, we're going to be in a much different talking situation. But right now, the bigger thing is on the horizon.
You got to let it play out. Look, the Guardians, you can't, the same, like you said, the Twins were left for dead a month ago. You can't win a division in April. You can lose it. We thought the Twins lost it in April. Guess what? They had a great May. They're getting it back. The Guardians, they didn't lose the division in April. They played well. They, at least in terms of record, run differential would say otherwise. Whatever. The wins count the same. Now you got to go out and you got to reverse course and be better. They are 8-8 in the month of May, and guess what? Their run differential is positive in the month of May. Very strange, right? This is baseball. So things go topsy-turvy there. The Guardians never do what you think they're going to do. Like when you think that they are looking great, they have a struggle weekend like they did against the Reds. And when they struggle, you're like, this division's over. Give up on them. They're not going to make it back. They go out and they win 3 or 4 from the Twins or something. Like this team just continually defies expectations, both sometimes good and bad. So let it play out. I understand, like you said, a month ago we left the Twins for dead. The Guardians, again, had a good month of April and record-wise, but the run differential wasn't good. This month, the run differential is positive, and they're a 500 team. But guess what? If you finish the month 500, you're not going to lose the division either.
And also, can we point out that like the weird struggles against bad teams this year? Like the Reds are barely 500. Baltimore,
there has been that too, for
sure. The Los Angeles Angels, like they've had a weird thing where they seem to play to the level of their competition, which has happened in the past as well. Hopefully, that means they'll do a good job against a hot Twins team.
Yep. All right. As Jeff said, I am solo on tomorrow's Lockdown Guardians, and then Jeff is solo Wednesday for Lockdown Guardians. But on tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about Guardians Twins Game 1. We're also going to talk about CJ Kayfus. Everybody's clamoring right now for CJ Kayfus. We'll talk about why he isn't the answer right now and the situation he is in, the Guardians are in, with regards to if he will actually make his debut this year. So stay tuned tomorrow for Guardians Twins Game 1 and some CJ Kayfus talk on tomorrow's show.
Make sure you tune in then. Make sure you tune in every day. Thank you for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps. Thank you to all who joined us after a rough weekend. And go Guardians, go.